Welcome to this edition of the Voicefluencer Show featuring the Talent Amplifier, Jim Kennelly. It's an absolute pleasure to have him here. He's going to be one of our Voicefluencers coming up on the Voice Den on September 29th at 5 p.m. Pacific. And this is a wonderful opportunity to get to know a little bit more about what Jim does with Lotus Productions and how he's really at that intersection with voiceover artists and AI. So let's get right to the interview here. Jim, great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me and the listeners.
Great. Thanks, Teri. Always a pleasure to be with you and look forward to the conversation. Should be fun.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, we've had a chance to get to know each other a little bit through some clubhouse rooms, and I'm so glad our paths have crossed because you're so knowledgeable when it comes to, like I said, that intersection, voiceover artistry and AI. But before we get into all that, maybe I can ask you to just introduce yourself to the audience a little bit about maybe your background and then about what you do with Lotus Productions.
Sure. Lotus Productions is my company. We're based in New York City. We always say that we'll find and record and deliver the voice that you need. We provide international voiceover casting, auditions, virtual direction, audio production, and talent payment services to clients all around the world. We always look at voiceovers as a global business. In specific, if you go into the past, obviously my sister and I have been doing this for quite some time. We've always been passionate about emerging technology because it helps us create different ways to connect to people, more diverse ways. And we specialize in helping talent navigate right now. We're helping talent navigate the AI world, the sonic voice marketplace. So we always tell the people, reach out to us because we're going to help you find your voice. Whether you're a client or a talent, we can help you.
That's wonderful. How did you get into this initially? Like, how did you find your way into this particular industry?
Voice. Well, I was a location sound man when my career started. I had the opportunity to travel around the world about 3 times. I went to everywhere bad for about 3 years in the documentary film business. So I never got to see any, I didn't get to see Rome or Paris, but the opportunity to go around the world and meet many different types of people gave me an appreciation that, we're all the same, that the world is global. We have the same problems. We have the same ambitions for our children, for ourselves. And so eventually when I wanted to stop traveling the world, get married, have a family, I took a studio job in New York City. At that time, it was known as John Lotus Productions. And I brought my global ideas into the voiceover world in the early 1980s, mid 1985 is when I really got into the day in, day out voiceover world. And it's always been fun to be in voiceovers. I've seen it change a number of times, all for the better. Again, with technology, new types of voices, and we see that accelerating now. And that's why I always tell people, this is a great time to be in the industry. It's an exciting 10-year window where we're going to create a brand new industry, and we can be a part of it, and you can be a part of it. So that's a great challenge. So I'm happy to still be in it. That's
great. And you actually touched on something I wanted to ask you about specifically, like changes that you've seen over your involvement in the industry. What sort of changes have you seen? And then we'll kind of focus in on this current change that you're observing with AI.
The one constant of change that's always in voiceovers is speed of delivery. Now they like to call it supply chain. That's the word now. So we didn't use that in the 80s or 90s. At least we didn't. But, for us, it started with FedEx. We were able to take a reel-to-reel and put it in a FedEx envelope and get it to our clients the next day. Now, of course, we're doing sessions where we record people live and we can send files around in seconds. So speed is the biggest thing. Speed of delivery has always been the biggest change. But for whether you're a talent or you're a brand or you're a producer, again, emerging technology is there to help you. So never be afraid of it. Start to learn about it. Dream about it, learn about it, and then make it happen. That's one of the Lotus slogans. We have a dream about what we'd like to do. So then we start to learn about it, and then we put it into action. And we're not afraid to fail. If you make a mistake, that's okay. It's all about learning.
Sure. No, that's a great attitude. And so let's talk a little bit more about this. Now, I don't know if it's the biggest change. I was going to say biggest change, but a change that's happening now where there's a lot more demand, a lot more awareness of AI, synthetic voices. What are your thoughts on that? What's your take on that? How is that impacting the industry?
Well, I think it's going to have a great impact. We started about 4 years ago to develop an AI division within Lotus Productions because I was curious about it. And it was obvious it was about to become a part of voiceovers. It's the voice industry So voiceovers has to be involved in it. So we put a certain amount of time and energy into developing it. And we reached out to make relationships with people who are designers and developers. I've always believed that there'll be two standalone industries. There'll be the voiceover industry that we know, that we're a part of, that has agents and managers and SAG-AFTRA, the performers union, non-union people, a lot of different production companies. But there'll also be a standalone AI division. And what's important is that we start to build the bridges between the two people. There's designers and developers who have to learn the voiceover language. And as voiceover artists, voiceover professionals, we have to start to understand the needs and requirements of designers and developers. So that's what we've been doing over the last 4 years. It's how we ended up in being a voice influencer, meeting you. I think we first met at the Voice Summit in Newark. We sat together at a breakout session for Pretzel Labs, Pretzel Labs that do a lot of brilliant children work. We actually sat next to one another, and you gave me your business card, and I thought, was a nice fellow. He's doing a podcast in Canada about AI, about voiceovers. Wish him good luck. So I've always followed your career, and Kismet, here we are.
You know what? Thank you for reminding me about that, because I have to admit, I did not remember that. That's how we met. And now it has come back to me. And wow,
we worked
isn't
on
that
a little
amazing?
project together, like a little conversational design project for, I think it's Adva Levine. She's the founder of Pretzel.
Adva Levine.
Wonderful group. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well,
so it's one of the other Lotus things is be nice to everybody.
Isn't that wonderful?
You never know where you're going to meet up.
Oh, that's right. Isn't that wonderful? That's a great story, because now it's all flooding back, and I remember that. And we sat there in that room with the round tables and working on the project. Yes, and exactly. Absolutely wonderful. So, what's your take from the voiceover artists themselves in terms of the AI? I know there's some concerns. I actually think it's a big opportunity right now. But what are you hearing from them, and what are you saying to them about this?
Right. Certainly, it's mixed. There's a lot of negative conversation. There's some positive conversation, and obviously, Lotus always brings a positive spin to everything. People are worried about their careers and how their careers are going to change. Some people are worried about their careers going away. We don't see that at all. We see with an AI voice always needs a human voice. There has to be an actor involved. We've taken the time to have a relationship with the Open Voice Network. We're on the synthetic voice study group there, where we're coming up with recommendations about potential actions that could be taken to help regulate voiceovers. We've created a relationship with Vocal ID, a very popular company. We help do the voiceover casting with them, where we're actually designing voice dubs. They like to use the word voice dubs. So we're also having meetings. I had a meeting just this past week with SAG-AFTRA, which is the performers union. And what we're starting to do is share information, to be open about it, to be transparent. If you have some information that I think might be helpful to you, let's share that information. Let's start to understand it, because it's an emerging field. It's a brand new business. Again, it's a wonderful opportunity to be involved in. I know you've made the point, in the late 20s, early 30s, radio was created. No one knew, everybody liked it. They knew it worked. It seemed entertaining, but an industry, men and women had to build an industry around it. And we're at the same moment right now. And it just really excites us. So we're hearing ups and downs, positive and negatives about AI, but I really think it's going to help everyone's career. It's going to be a 10-year explosion of learning and success together. But some of the fears that some of the actors are having, they're still way down the road. It's a long way to go. And I think in specific, when you look at contracts, we're designing contracts that are negotiated one by one. Everything's transparent. Don't be afraid to say no to a contract. If you don't think it's right for you, just say no. Go to the next. But understand that there are people like the Open Voice Network, a couple of people at SAG-AFTRA, people like myself, Vocal ID, Witlingo, Ahmed at Witlingo is deeply involved. There's a lot of conversation going on underneath that's all designed to support voice actors.
Yeah, that's great. You made a couple of great points there, and I'd love to just touch on two of them. One of them is contracts. And once somebody has given their voice for an AI voice, that AI voice theoretically could be used in multiple places. So how do you think that's going to evolve or change the way contracts are done for the voiceover artists, if it will?
Well, the way we look at it is the same way you negotiate contracts now. Like if you sign on to be the voice of Subaru, Obviously, they record you and you're the voice of Subaru and you hear it on digital platforms. You might hear it on a network platform. But there's a specific agreement that your voice is going to be used for Subaru. They're not going to cut you up and put you on another car commercial. So in the same way, when we negotiate synthetic voice contracts, we're very aware of reselling. We're not letting any reselling be involved. And we're very specific on how it's going to be used, how long, what platforms. So it's the same negotiation that we've always used for voiceovers, but now we're starting to apply it into a synthetic world. But there is a moment, again, where we have to teach designers and developers, like, this is the language you have to use to work with actors. And on the flip side, we're trying to teach SAG-AFTRA and independent voice artists, managers, agents. This is the language that designers and developers are used to. And so you're going to have to appreciate that. So, but in the end, the concerns of use, length of use, platform use are of equal concern to brands and voice talents. So there's a place where we can come together. We have the same goals. So there is a place where we can come together and be successful.
That makes a lot of sense. And one of the recurring themes here that I'm hearing you talk about is education, I think. You know, in this sort of early space, I think that's key. I don't know, any comments on that?
Yeah, I think, well, we like to talk about patience too. You have to have a lot of patience because patience creates trust. And once you, like, just like making a friend, we're slowly becoming friends because we see each other on these platforms. We share information in a positive way. So you and I are becoming friends because we're patient with one another. And once we become patient with one another, we build up trust. And then we get back to the point I made before. Then you get speed. And then you're able to work quicker, make the contracts happen faster. And it just takes patience at the beginning to build up trust. And then you get speed. And with speed, you can have success. And certainly speed and AI are tied together because it's going to be necessary to deliver the audio so quickly as it becomes a much more vertical industry.
Right. And maybe just to finish up here with a question or two, what's the state of it right now? Are you having a lot of inquiries with regards to AI voices? Is it still mostly traditional voiceover work, or is it sort of 50-50 at this point? Where would you say?
For Lotus Productions, for my company?
For Lotus Productions, in your experience.
Oh, yeah. AI is really just a portion of our work. We still do day in, day out commercials. We do e-lessons. We do promos, anything with a voice. We're happy to be work with. But AI is a part of our business. And at the moment, it's really exploration. People want to hear the samples. They want to hear the quality of it. And I can assure you, in specific, when you talk about Vocal ID, the voice dubs that we're making there, that are being designed there, they're brilliant. They're amazingly good matches. And could easily take a sentence or two and drop it into a live recording that we produced. We happen to do a lot of political advertising. We had an example last night where instead of saying 1.5 million voters, they just wanted to say hundreds of thousands of voters. Now, unfortunately, the talent was busy doing a long audiobook, so she wasn't available till late into the evening. So late in the evening, she made that adjustment for us, 3-4 in a row of these 2 sentences, which were easily dropped into the commercial. But if we had a vocal dub of her, we could have done it in 20 minutes. And the match was so perfect that it would have fit into the commercial. You put in the music mix, you put in the effects, people would not have known that there was a synthetic insert into it. But we would have paid her fairly. We
and that's the
just
key.
Done it on the slide. Yes.
And
we would have
that's
said, hey, we used your vote. We've contracted you for your vocal dub. We used it last evening on this commercial to do a pickup, and you're going to be paid this amount of money for this pickup.
Yeah, and I think that's key, and it's so wonderful that there are people like you that are really being transparent with the way this works. As you know, there's been things in the media where things have not been so transparent, but again, there's learning that's happening, there's education, and like you, I'm actually very optimistic. I think I'm not a voiceover artist, as you know, but I'm very optimistic that with so much of a world becoming focused on voice, as you said, like there has to be some origin of that voice dub, and that's where the opportunity lies. So I think it's huge.
Right, particularly when you talk about, like I talk about a vertical industry, the specificity of like the voices. It's not just about translation anymore. We're going to be taking commercials and bringing them right down to zip codes, replacing them digitally on zip codes. So it's really the local pun, the local joke that will make the spot seem so specific to the audience. And that's going to require a lot of different voice actors. And we're already seeing the explosion of diversity in voiceovers. And it's all for the better, because it better reflects what the American voice is, what the Canadian voice is, what the global voice is. It's not just one voice. It's so many different voices together. And again, that goes back to my experience traveling around the world, listening to voices as a sound man. It's in my heart, and it's great to see it happening now on all over the place in voiceovers.
I'm glad you mentioned that too, because I know that's a really important area in terms of the voice diversity. And so that's wonderful that you're able to kind of push that forward as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, because the diversity of voices create a diversity. When we audition a diversity of voices, you get more opinions, you get more variety. And that's what our customers want. They want a variety of ideas. Everybody interprets things differently, and that's what people want to hear. So it's again, it's a very exciting time.
It is. It is very exciting. This is wonderful. I'm so thrilled to have you as one of our guests coming up on the Voice Stand in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
September 29th. As you know, people are going to get a chance to come on and ask you questions, and you know, clearly you know, your expertise is on display for everybody right now. But if there were questions that people could ask you, what are those types of questions that you would want people to ask you to give you a chance to talk about? What are those questions that you love to get asked?
I like to be asked, like, how do you get into the business? How do you grow your business? Talking about patience, trust, and speed, I think is important.
Yep.
I'm big on believing in yourself, you know, really believe in yourself. So how do you get that confidence to take risks? That's important to me.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful.
Those are the questions I like, you know, like about encouragement. You know, like at Lotus, we don't wait for you to be good to reach out to you. You know, we want to reach out to you early in your career because we want to help you grow your career, because that's how, again, you develop relationships. So we always say to people, like, don't be afraid to reach out. People want to help you. You know, people want you to be successful. People enjoy helping people be successful. So, you know, jump in.
That's wonderful. I love the sincerity of that, and like I say, you're so transparent, and I love that. I think it's so wonderful to have people like you in this industry. So thank you so much. I want you to share with the audience, you know, where can people learn more about Lotus Productions or connect with you personally, or any links that you'd like to share? Please go ahead and do so.
Yeah, you can go to our link tree is Lotus_Productions. Now, Lotus is spelled with an A. It's LOTAS. So it's Lotus_Productions. But you can find us on Twitter and Instagram and, you know, all the major platforms. We're actively involved in them. I have my own VO Kennelly Twitter site, which I tend to talk about my view on the industry. And on the Lotus Productions Twitter site, we tend to talk about technology and advancements, things that we're doing in the studio. But we're very active on social media platforms. We find talent on social media platforms. So, you know, keep your eyes out. We might be looking for you.
That's wonderful, Jim. Well, Jim, thank you so much for spending some time here. Really appreciate it. Love the conversation, and I'm looking forward to having you on the show in a little while.
Yeah, looking forward. It's going to be a great show. You have a great lineup, and you always deliver. So we're happy to be a part of it at Lotus Productions.
Thanks so much.